What's a small correction? Piyush Goyal, Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, BJP National Treasurer. Thank you very much. Kumar Ketkar, it's good to see you once again on what is going to be an interesting debate. Lord Meghnad Desai says this is not enough. There should be more. In fact, he feels that the middle classes should be burdened more. I wonder why. Maybe it's because you're in London, Lord Meghnad Desai. But thank you for joining us tonight.
It's very cold here.
Very cold here.
And the pound is appreciating.
The pound is appreciating. You're not facing the burden. We're going to have a good debate tonight. Mohandas Pai, one of India's most respected entrepreneurs, educationists, I would say free-thinking voices on the economy. Thank you very much. Naresh Gujral, Member of Parliament of the Shiromani Akali Dal. Thank you very much. Bejan Mishra, consumer expert, but he's also the voice of the Pirit, concerned, crippled Indian middle class. Thank you very much. Bejan Mishra, let me open the debate with you. What is small? 6 rupees per year in diesel and up to 10 rupees more per litre in the cost of diesel 18 months from now. Is that a small correction? Bejan Mishra, that's to you.
The small correction is a huge burden on the Aam Aadmi. And these corrections are always, I find, increasing the burden on the consumer rather than a correction which is decreasing the price of essential products which the consumers need every day. And you see, the diesel is directly related to public transportation.
Absolutely.
And you see, the Aam Aadmi travels on the public transportation and depends on that, and they are not accessible to their own vehicles and having those luxuries which our honorable members of the parliament who sat today and decided. And I'm very happy that in the nervousness this has come out, that they have deregulated the diesel, and we now today are able to debate. And thanks to your channel for making the Aam Aadmi get at least 9 cylinders now from 6 cylinders. So they have agreed to that, and it is like, you know, you rob Peter to pay Paul. So we are definitely very concerned with these kind of policy decisions which they say that it is required and it is necessary in order to ensure that the physical balance is done. But nobody talks of efficiencies.
Yeah.
Where is the petroleum companies being made accountable? Why are they not reducing their cost of administrative cost, their management cost, their marketing cost?
Good point.
Why are they not reducing that?
Good point. Don't fire all your points right at the start of the debate, Bejan Mishra, because I will come back to you. This whole business, Peter, take from Peter to pay Paul, Lord Meghnad Desai, would make us believe there are only 2 people in the world, Peter and Paul, and only 2 people in the world have all the resources. Hence, you cannot pay Paul unless you take from Peter. My contention is there are many other Pauls who the government is not looking at. Corporate India is a rich Paul,
well, you know,
which is getting fairly subsidized. The political classes of India who own large agricultural tracts of money are rich Pauls who are again not paying to Peter. Not to mention the corrupt politicians, Lord Meghnad Desai, the corrupt Pauls who have kept their money in Swiss bank accounts. Now, there must be surely a way to make these Pauls pay Peter and not take only from the Paul who is already crippled, which is the Aam Aadmi. Lord Meghnad Desai.
I quite agree that all corporate subsidies should also be attacked and black money should be attacked and all that. But the point is that while none of that is being done, a diesel subsidy, the Peter is subsidized with one hand and taxed with another hand, because eventually the deficits of the oil companies have to be paid for by the government raises money on the market, and that requires taxation to cover the expenses. So basically all that is happening is that Aam Aadmi doesn't pay directly, but he pays indirectly.
Yeah, but why?
Now, you know, if that is what you want for justice, that's fine. But of course, there should be more progressive taxation. But that is, you know, pigs could fly. That's not going to happen in India. We know that. In the meantime, we cannot have diesel subsidy because diesel is ultimately a middle class consumption item. People buy cars.
Yes.
Maruti cars with diesel are being sold. It's not just in buses, passenger cars are being sold for diesel consumption. So let us not pretend that diesel is a Aam Aadmi doesn't have diesel or LPG gas. Aam Aadmi has wood to burn in his...
Sir, please, sir. I think India has progressed from that. I think India has progressed from a hunter-gatherer situation.
Villages of India.
No, sir, sir, you are undermining it. Lord Desai, you are undermining it. I don't know why you are undermining it. You know that diesel has the maximum weightage on wholesale price index to inflation. You know that it is going to have a cascading impact on vegetables, transport, food, every aspect of our lives. Why are you undermining the argument? Piyush Goyal wanted to.
Undermining the argument.
No, Piyush Goyal wanted to question your logic.
Eventually, the country has to pay.
Yeah.
The country has to afford what it consumes.
Sure.
And either it pays directly or it pays through deficit budgets.
The country will
That's all it
pay.
is.
Country will pay, but why should I?
I'm glad for a change you have an Aam Aadmi representative here also. I thought I was also one. But then I'm glad Mr. Bijon is here because actually so far, all the channels have focused on economists and politicians. But they're not realizing that the common man on the street is the guy who has to suffer.
I agree.
So corporate India goes to the finance minister and says that don't increase our taxes. It will disincentivize us to invest in India. It will it will be a problem.
Yeah.
People won't pay their taxes. But then at the same time, that same logic applies to the common man. I think it's high time we went to the root of the problem. Has this government realized that 15-20% depreciation of the rupee has cost 75,000 crore of that subsidy?
Yes.
Do they realize that more money is spent on DG sets because they don't provide power, they don't provide coal to the power companies? Do they realize
do you mean what you're saying?
That pipe gas was the alternative to LPG, which they don't allow, but they insist that LPG will be the prices will be increased. And what have they done? 6 to 9. Why did they in the first place bring the cap? So they are just playing politics with pricing. They are playing politics with supply. The bigger issue is this country needed a government which sorted out the problems at the root, which expanded oil production. 3 years they didn't increase oil production in this country. They didn't allow production plans of companies to be passed. Gas issue is not being sorted out. Coal issue is not being sorted out. The real reform that the country is crying for, they don't do. And I don't know how price increase on the common man is considered a reform.
One second. Can I just request you, Piyush, instead of your prepared statement...
I have no prepared statement. Where is my prepared statement?
This is a prepared statement of yours. It's in your mind.
Well, of
it's
course.
In your mind. You see, instead of your prepared statement... I'm sorry. Answer my question.
I'm glad you acknowledge that I come prepared. Better than a lot of the others who don't come prepared. Huh?
But do you mean? No, I'm asking you today, Piyush Goyal. Instead of your we should put Piyush Goyal in the dock for once.
Of course you must.
Thank you.
No, can I come?
No, I want to know how sincere Piyush Goyal is. I have two questions to test as a test of sincerity of Piyush Goyal. Piyush Goyal, tell me today, the Aam Aadmi which you have been so vocal about is burdened because of the NREGA and the food subsidy scheme. The food subsidy scheme, it will go up from 23,000 or 25,000, 27,000 to 95,000 crores. By my simple mathematical logic, when I see that 9.6 rupees is, I think, the burden on diesel, by which I mean that for every 1 rupee you increase diesel prices, you take your subsidy goes down by about 10,000 crores. In other words, if in 1 year from now, by the government's plans, 6 rupees of diesel goes up, roughly you're a chartered accountant, it's about 60-70,000 crore rupees burden comes down. Annualized. Am I correct up to this point?
Up to this point, you're right. But
no. I have not even come to the point. My point to you is, I want a politician, Piyush Goyal, to tell me today that he is against the food subsidy bill, which directly translates to taking away, adding the same burden that the diesel price increase takes away from the economy.
No, but I disagree.
No. Are you against the food subsidy? Are you against the food subsidy bill?
No, but why do you want that answer? I'll give you a better answer.
No. Are you against the food subsidy bill?
I am for anything that can reach the common man through.
I am asking you today.
On your show,
Piyush, answer my question. You see, the Aam Aadmi is burdened today because of all these schemes which are good vote catchers. And the reason I'm asking you this is because eventually you're a politician. You cannot, for all your economic logic, you will wear the politician's hat. And you will say, well, let's not talk about NREGA.
No,
let's not talk about right to food. No, these are Sonia Gandhi's pet schemes. Are you for or against them?
No, wait. These are not
for or against.
Arnab, these things don't work for or against.
Well,
let me explain.
Well, once it is implemented, the subsidy bill goes up, so it's for or against.
I have been on your channel on Manrega with Congress spokespersons, now ministers, and he asked me the same question. Remember what I said? I said, I believe we've got to teach them how to fish rather than providing the fish. Whether it's food subsidy, whether it's Manrega,
you are essentially pro-subsidy.
In my opinion,
you are essentially like all politicians pro-subsidy.
Will you kindly listen? My opinion has been that these subsidies have to move towards asset creation and skill development.
Don't tell me what they move towards. Where are they now?
They have to move towards that. That's what we believe.
But in the implementation, they are not. They are not ready.
So that's what I've been saying. So don't have Manrega, but put it into a viability gap fund which creates assets. Have Manrega through a skill development program.
You know, my point to you is
generate skills, not just give money away as goals.
That's you have still avoided my question.
I have not at all avoided. I've been telling you on your channel.
I want to ask Mohandas Pai.
These schemes will work as long as you train the people.
I want to get in Mohandas Pai at this stage. Mohandas Pai, eventually it boils down to this. Politicians think up these grand subsidy schemes and they put it on an Excel sheet and they say this subsidy will fetch me these many votes. This subsidy transfer, this direct cash transfer will go to these many people in these many areas, will fetch me these many votes. Now, having done that, let's try and do the mathematics of where we get the money from.
Absolutely wrong.
1 minute, please. I'm coming back to you. Now, should politicians also talk about fiscal prudence when it comes to the subsidies? Eventually, we're not moving away from subsidies, are we? We're moving more towards them. This is not reform.
Arnab, can I say something?
Yeah.
Arnab?
Go ahead.
Arnab, the total subsidy in the system at the center and the state is 4 lakh crores a year. 2 lakh crores in the budget of the union government, 1 lakh crore which is not in the budget the union government has to pay, and at least 1 lakh crore of the state, which is absurd. 50% subsidy do not go to the poor. Out of this 50%, half of it is misused by the middlemen. Therefore, they can save at least 30%. As far as what Piyush is saying, Arnab, the states get 1,25,000 crores as taxes from petroleum, and they've got tax on diesel of 25%. I want the BJP states to reduce the sales tax, to reduce the burden. This Piyush comes and complains about the center increasing the diesel prices. He doesn't talk about his own state governments, all of the state, including Karnataka, reducing the sales tax. He must now prove that his BJP government will reduce the taxes, reduce the burden, instead of criticizing the union government all the time, because the union government has no money left.
For example, Madhya Pradesh is ruled by the BJP. It is in this state that there is maximum tax on petroleum products, as compared to other states. So slash the taxes of the state earns if you're so concerned about the Aam Aadmi.
The centre has a significant number of sources where they can raise taxes.
I'm asking.
The states have very limited sources on which they can raise taxes.
Misleading.
It's not at all misleading. The states have very few avenues of taxes. The centre has the income tax, the excise, the customs, service tax, all of that are central taxes. The state has VAT and land revenue, only two sources.
Admitted, politicians are all on dodgy ground when it comes to subsidies. None of you want to take a tough position on subsidies.
I took a tough position. I said these subsidies should be moved towards asset creation, which gives jobs to people. That's what the NDA did. We did not give doles to people. We created infrastructure.
That's a convoluted way of saying nothing. I am asking you today that if I can tell you that out of the 48.9 million tons of food distributed via the extremely leaky public distribution system,
except in our states. In our states, we actually reach it to the people.
Whatever. Don't take ground. 25.
No, Chhattisgarh role model for PDS.
I'm giving you the broad picture. I really want you to take a position. Out of 48.9 million tons, 25.3 is wasted. 55% of the food grain is used. 45% it goes into some dustbin, and you expect the middle class to continue to subsidize this colossal waste. And even you, Piyush, despite being in the opposition, are not taking a position on the food subsidy bill because it will cost you votes.
It's not a question of taking a position on that. What we believe,
this is not good economics.
What we believe and how we did it. Even we gave support to the poor, but we made them work and gave them food for work. Our philosophy as the NDA and my party is we help people get jobs, we create infrastructure, and through that, we support the common.
Well, we are taking counter questions. Kumar Ketkar has a question for you.
Support non-subsidy of diesel and petrol in case you come to power, which you hope to come to power in 2014. Will you immediately reduce the prices of diesel and petrol, or at that time you will say no, but that's a different thing now, that's past, and now we are not going to do
well,
it.
Well, the UPA has been saying that whatever happened in 9 years is the past.
Piyush, always it was a complaint against the Congress government that they are not actually giving diesel its market worth, because diesel is a vote catcher. Now that they have surrendered the votes and allowed the diesel prices to go up, you are saying that diesel prices going up is an attack on us. So just on the eve of Congress Chintan Shivir, Congress government has taken risk of increasing the prices of diesel, and so far the argument was diesel is always mixed with kerosene, and more often it is not used for the poor man, not for the Aam Aadmi, but actually used for corruption and adulteration.
Well, your diesel is mixed with kerosene is still not sorted out by this increase. By the way, it makes it even worse.
No, when the price of diesel goes up,
it makes the incentive
uneconomical.
Makes the incentive even more to mix with kerosene.
But Mr. Kumar Ketkar, you are defending the government. You are not from the Congress.
I am not defending the government. I am defending the
but by the way, they have politicized this price.
I am entirely 100% with Dr. Meghnad Desai when he said that yes, it needs to be burdened more, even if it is at present.
So one minute. Why should I?
Because just
so one minute. So 1 minute. You know, in a pre-election year, suddenly the Congress party wants to put subsidy. 1 minute. Subsidy after subsidy. You know, the total financial liability, according to KV Thomas, the food minister, of the food subsidy bill to implement it will be 3.5 lakh crore, because funds will be required to raise agriculture production, create storage space and publicity, among others. Now my point is, just because the Congress party has gone whimsical, that before an election, let us quickly put the food subsidy bill.
I don't think these things happen on whims.
So let's be very direct about it.
Let me be direct about it.
So let me be direct about it.
If Congress is looking at
let me be direct about it.
If Congress was looking at elections, they would not have increased the prices.
Sir, look at me in the eye and tell me that the food subsidy bill is not in...
because I don't represent Congress.
Fine.
I can look into anybody's eyes.
Fine. Tell me
if Congress was looking at elections, they would not have increased the prices. And if they were not giving up subsidies, you would have said, look at Congress.
Sir,
they are not doing
the problem is last 9 years
they want votes.
Mr. Ketkar, for 9 years they have politicized pricing. We were in power also. We never played politics with diesel prices.
My question
is, how can you ignore the past? How can you ignore the 9 years of mismanagement?
My question is today, the Aam Aadmi, which I hope includes the urban middle class, because I am getting increasingly concerned that the urban middle class is not considered an...
Look at the incomes of urban middle class in last 20 years.
So 1 minute, can I say...
Last 20 years, urban middle class...
Your income has gone up too much.
No, government employees, fifth pay commission, sixth pay commission, look at the incomes of the middle class.
How many people get that, Mr. Ketkar? That's a few million people. That's a few million people who get fifth pay commission.
Sir, your flats which they bought at 10 lakh rupees in 1991 are being sold for 2 crore rupees.
How many people?
Poor man in Aam Aadmi does not have 2 rooms.
But how many people? There are a few million in a country of a billion.
Are going to be priced.
No.
Sir, can I tell you one thing? Can I tell you one thing?
No.
One second.
Hello. Yeah, you see, people don't realize that 80% of our farmers are dependent on electricity which never is given to them. They're dependent on diesel.
That's right.
Where are those farmers going to get a kind of a reasonable price? And Arnab, you talked about leakage of food grains. I am talking about rotting of food grains. Million tons of food grains are rotting in our country, which is being highly subsidized by the government, which doesn't reach the Aam Aadmi. So what are you talking about? Let's try to understand, let's not politicize this. You see, I fully agree with you that none of the political parties wants to touch this issue
of subsidies,
because they are all waiting to just woo the citizens and take them to the wrong direction.
I'm saying today that this is the parallel I'm drawing, and listen to what I'm saying. Tell me if I'm wrong right now. According to my, little bit of mathematics I have done, I find that 3 rupees per litre increase in diesel price, the amount of money you will get is roughly equal to the money lost due to corruption in the public distribution system. 59,621 crore rupees is the subsidy paid by the Finance Ministry on food. Half of it goes to the wrong persons. In other words, 29,000 crores is lost because of losses in the public distribution system. The government knows these losses will happen, but says, let the losses happen. It's the price we pay for something that is politically, interesting for us. It's a worthwhile loss to... No. I don't know which politician has the courage to say today...
I'm telling you a solution to that.
No, I want to check. The middle class is saying, I'll pay 3 rupees more for diesel. I'll pay 3 rupees more for diesel, ensure that the money I pay does not end up subsidizing these losses due to the food bill.
It's high time the government of the day maybe builds up a consensus that we shall create assets, we shall create infrastructure and give jobs to the people, rather than distributing doles. By time the country started looking at that.
Gentlemen, the debate is completely opening up in 2 minutes. I first want to get Naresh Gujral, who hasn't spoken. Otherwise, he will say that a BJP ally gets 1/10 the time as the BJP itself. Perhaps that is the complaint within NDA meetings as well.
He's my friend also, so you can give him as much time.
That's all. Naresh Gujral, do you think at the end of the day, all political parties have decided to simply burden the urban middle class? Including your own party?
Before I answer that question, I'd just like to point out one thing which has been missed by others. That traditionally, diesel was subsidized to benefit the farm sector and the transportation sector. Now, the consumption from these two sectors has not really gone up exponentially.
Yes.
The diesel consumption has gone up because of diesel cars, SUVs, MTVs. 8,05,000 SUVs and diesel cars were sold last year. You are subsidizing the rich person today at the cost of the poor farmer and at the cost of the Aam Aadmi. Why can't you put a tax at source starting from 1 lakh to maybe 10 lakhs depending on the engine capacity and the price of the car? Let that money be garnered. Let the rich man pay.
That is exactly...
Let the rich man pay.
Why are you punishing the farmer?
Yeah, sure. Let the rich man pay. Mohandas
I have one more thing to say here.
Can I make a point?
Mr. Gujral, now Mohandas Pai wants to contradict you there. I'll come back to you once he's made...
let me finish.
Okay, complete.
All I'm saying is, when you subsidize a diesel car or a SUV, you're also ruining the environment. It is neither good for the economy nor for the environment.
Yeah, I take your point. Now, Mohandas Pai.
Arnab, please. Arnab, we should always work on data. Cars consume maybe 8 to 10% of the diesel consumed in the country right now. The farming sector consumes about 18%. The transportation sector, including the lorries, consume about 35%. The defense, the state road transport organizations, the telecom companies and the army, between them, consume about 30%. So, you're on the 10% of the people don't make any difference, even if it goes up by 1 or 2%.
No, but why can't you tax them?
As far as procurement
why can't you tax them? I'm not saying that they're consuming this much. Tax them for God's sake.
Incidentally, the Prime Minister in his statement...
They already pay for large.
They have the support of the CII. They have the support of the FICCI. The poor farmer does not have any support from all these organized groups. That's why he's suffering.
Arnab, the farmer has got 100% increase in procurement prices over the last 5 years for everything he sells. The UPA government has increased procurement prices by 100%
Sorry, I will use the word bullshit.
Much ahead of inflation.
Absolute nonsense. Wrong figures.
Look at data. Please look at data.
I'm sorry. I dispute these figures.
Check up the data, my friend.
I have looked at the data.
Check up the data. Please use logic.
Annual
check up the procurement price this year. Go back 5 years.
Increase has been 9% since UPA came in.
5 years. I'm talking about the last 5 years. Please check up the prices and see for yourself.
And the way the fertilizer prices
but if in 5 years it's doubled, so what?
The input prices have shot up.
Fertilizer prices have not increased.
Farming is not a viable proposal anymore.
No, I'd like to correct Mohandas Pai. Even if it has increased in 5 years to double, it's less than the nominal growth of GDP. Point one. Naresh is right. Fertilizer prices have gone up between 250% to 350%. Seed prices have gone up by about 500%. I think it's high time we stopped criticizing some little sops given to the farmers.
Little sops?
They deserve it.
No, little sops. That's where you go.
People who are running this country, giving us food security.
Really?
The farmers are still committing suicide. They are not really in a situation where they are making big tons of money. I think the farmers need to be supported.
I need to
Even in Europe and US, they give subsidy to farmers.
I don't know how your party changes its position every 4 years. 1 minute. I'll tell you, Mohandas bhai. Let me just catch a factual inaccuracy of my friend Piyush Goyal.
Yes.
He's committed a factual inaccuracy.
Please correct me.
Yes.
You seem to be wanting to be corrected.
I enjoy being corrected.
Yashwant Sinha, no, I am saying that there is no consistency in your argument.
Tell me.
Yashwant Sinha in 2008, after the loan waiver, says, if you want me to sum it up, I can tell you this is a very populist budget, something that has been given ahead of the elections. Basically, he has to try to win the vote of various segments and has left the burden of the budget on the forthcoming government.
So where is the contradiction?
The 1 minute, please. The contradiction is that then, as you also did in 2009 after Lalu's rail budget, you slammed the government for populist budgets and populist decisions. The decisions the government took today are anything but populist. In fact, they are a huge electoral risk, some people will argue, given that the polls are around the corner, and yet you criticize it. So my point of view is, what is your position? Where do you stand? Is your argument of the BJP only to somehow...
No. Please understand.
Meghnath Desai,
today there is double-digit inflation in the economy.
You're changing your argument.
You're adding to that burden of the common man. We criticize it. In 2008, it was a populist move just on the eve of election. Therefore, we had said farmers should be supported, but not in such a manner as to get a benefit only for the
Meghnath Desai, raise his hand. Meghnath Desai to Piyush Goyal.
What are they worried about?
1 minute. He'll tell you what they're worried. Meghnath Desai to Piyush
Goyal. Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say, if you run a deficit, the rupee will depreciate. The rupee depreciation increases the losses for the oil companies and then increases the need to raise the diesel price. So what you have to do, you have to eliminate the deficit. That will bring interest rate down from the RBI, and in order to bring deficit down, you have to eliminate as many inefficient subsidies as possible. Now, the Aam Aadmi's burden one way or another. Let us choose to eliminate the regressive subsidies, and that will be better for everybody, Aam Aadmi and the rural farmer and everybody. Let us get that clear in our mind. Sir, and let's not have this politicization of two.
No, but sir, I agree with you. My only point is that always trying to say, like Piyush Goyal said, and others have said, no, little bit of money is being given here on subsidies. I mean, under the 8 years of the UPA, spending on social sector schemes has gone up by 460%. Exactly. 4.6 times.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, on the one hand, the middle class is in serious trouble. I have figures to prove that the urban middle class is reeling. Your spending on social sector schemes which have no accountability goes up 460%. I mean, which kind of... What logic is that, Kumar Ketkar? Can you still defend it? What logic is that?
Social sector. We should be spending on social sector, and middle class needs to pay for the social sector.
No, middle class needs
to pay because middle class has earned in the last 20 years, and they need to pay for social sector.
So that's a kind of...
Social sector spending is not populist. Social sector spending is actually anti-populist.
Can I rebut, Dr.
Meghnath Desai wants to rebut you.
I'm not a friend of food subsidies.
Yes, Meghnath Desai?
I'm not a friend of food subsidies. I'm not a friend of food subsidies either, and I'm not a friend of Narega. We really have to find out that a lot of this money is being wasted in the name of redistribution, but it's actually a lot of it is wasted, as everybody has said. So why doesn't some political party somewhere commit itself to eliminating this waste and these subsidies and restore the health of the fiscal balance? Now, why do we get all this populist abuse, but nobody commits to saying, okay, if we come to power, we will eliminate all the inefficient subsidies India has?
I want someone to say that.
I challenge the BJP or any party to
I ran government for 6 years. In my government, we focused the government spending to creating infrastructure. We focused to encouraging manufacturing in India to get jobs for people. Maybe politically we were unwise and we lost the election. But we still continue to maintain even today that what the nation needs to do is focus on creating jobs focus on creating infrastructure, move all these social spending schemes into actually asset building. But that's been our consistent stand.
The problem with the BJP, and I don't want to use, the word U-turn because is that it's not like you're always wrong. But when you look back at what you say in the past, you're inevitably contradicting yourself.
Never. I told you.
You're tying yourself up in knots.
But Arnav, what Mr. Sinha
what are we
said was
saying?
correct. Because he said that you cannot have a scheme on the eve of elections without providing for it in the budget.
Sir, please don't tell me about your record. In 2002, the BJP-led NDA government freed petrol and diesel prices, resulting in the revision of rates on the 1st and 16th of every month.
Correct.
Am I right or wrong? Was there a man called Ram Nayak who was your petroleum minister? What is that right or wrong?
That time the international prices were different.
Arnav, we pride ourselves.
At that time the international prices were different and they were lower. It was easy to handle that time. It is not easy to handle
Statistically, I will tell you, we pride ourselves.
Respond.
Between $23 and $32.
Yeah, so let me explain.
So the point is...
I'm responding to that. When we took over power, the price was $13 and it went up to $36. So there was a 200% increase in our 6 years. In the 9 years, may I finish, Mr. Ketkar? In the 9 years of the UPA government, it has not even gone up by as much, 200% as that. But we pride ourselves, Arnav, we pride ourselves in deregulating prices, and we actually freed the oil companies into moving prices on a fortnightly band. Prices went up, they occasionally went down. Inflation was at 3-4% at that time. The burden was not so much on the Aam Aadmi. At 3-4% inflation, they were able to manage.
So those are all relative.
The problem is,
please don't.
For 9 years, they played politics with prices.
Sir, you are.
And now suddenly they want to push that whole burden on the common man.
The issue is simple. When you bite the bullet, it's reforms. When the Congress party bites the bullet, it's populist.
In 2004, why did they undo it? Why did they have committee after committee for 6 years and stop the deregulation which we had done?
Arnav.
But the fact is, not a populist step.
Mohandas Pai wanted to respond.
It will cause them votes.
It's not a question of votes.
If they do populist things, you say it is for votes and for election. Now they have done something, they have taken a risk.
Continuing my Peter and Paul argument, my simple question is this today. I am not an economist and I feel embarrassed to talk economics in front of Meghnad Desai. But as I'm coming to Meghnad, I'm only asking any of our politician panelists today on the panel should tell us today that there is Peter, which is the middle class, which is burdened, crippled, hit. And 1 minute, please. The subjective. You're not middle class, so you're not.
I'm rich.
The question is this. I want to know which politician will say today, all rich industrialists, including those who hold infinite land holdings all across this country, including the politicians, they should face taxes, tax all rich agriculturists, put higher inheritance tax, increase long-term capital gains tax, in other words, put a tax on investment. Now, my view is, some people say, politicians don't want to tax investment because then they will be the ones who will be taxed the most. That's the point. They don't want to tax it. So you tax the salaried urban middle class. Mohandas Pai wanted to come in. Mohandas Pai.
Arnav, I want to make 3 points. One, what percentage of our political leaders or politicians are crorepati's? Look at the filing of the Election Commission and you'll find, and my surmise is at least 40% of people in Parliament and 40-45% in the legislature, excluding UP and BR, are crorepati's as per their own returns. Okay? And they don't want to take any pain. Two, this government has mismanaged the economy over the last 5 years, frittered away the gains of reform that happened when the NDA government is there, which is true, and misused the money, not controlled the economy. We have runaway inflation, runaway subsidies. They're not even giving us a honest budget. The last budget was a dishonest budget because it did not cover the full deficit. It gave a misleading picture to say the fiscal deficit is 5.1, whereas the calculate subsidy properly, the deficit would have been 6.1%. And we are suffering the consequence of this bad management. But we must compliment Mr. Chidambaran for taking a hard stand, saying fiscal deficit is 5.3%, going down to 4.8%. You have to raise prices. The party is over, and we have to be real. And that, let us compliment the government. They have made a mistake in the past. Let us compliment the government.
John Mishra.
And for BJP to now come and say that, this is all wrong, is total hypocrisy.
Arnav is contradicting himself. Arnav, Mohandas is contradicting himself. You see, he in one hand says efficient management, good governance, and then on the other hand he says it is right to increase the prices. I mean, what is this? What is he trying to say? I thought he was agreeing to what I suggested, but then he again took a U-turn to please the finance
not
minister.
For efficient management.
I mean,
this government is incapable of efficient management.
Tell the government to become accountable. You have to make the government competent enough to be accountable to the citizens.
This government is incapable of efficient management. Accept the reality.
You can't make the government and make them increase the prices whatever they want.
Mohandas, may I make a small submission?
In Parliament, in the budget,
may I make a small submission? Why I am criticizing? You are saying...
One last point, please. Anna, one last point, please.
Sure.
In Parliament, when the 14 lakh crore budget of the Union government was passed, there was no discretion expenditure. The BJP did not even explain anything, did not put the government to the mat, did not ask any questions in Parliament. All the grants were guillotined. They were guillotined. They've been happening for the last 3 years. Parliament is not functioning. Now they come on TV and criticize the government.
Sir, may I rebut Mohandas on two issues?
I agree.
Mohandas has said the BJP is now raising horse. By the way, Mohandas, if you read my budget speeches, both of 11 and 12, you will find me talking about dishonest budgets. You will find me talking about the fact that budget did not provide for expenditure.
What is your position on inheritance tax?
1 second.
No, what is your?
I'll come to that.
What is your position on inheritance tax?
1 second. Now, Mohandas just said.
No, what is your position on inheritance tax?
Mohandas just said.
No, what is your position on inheritance tax?
This government is mismanaging the economy.
What is your position on inheritance tax?
बताते हैं पहले Mohandas की बात तो खत्म करते हैं.
For what? We've heard that.
No, it's very important. Mohandas himself acknowledged this
what is your
government
position?
is mismanaging.
Why is the BJP avoiding the question on inheritance tax, long-term capital gains tax, all taxes on investment, including rich agricultural holdings? Take a position on that tonight. Please do. Yes
First
or no?
I'll take a position on what Mohandas criticized me, then I'll answer your
Mohandas Pai has allowed you to pass the question.
No, he's not. He
I am asking you to.
Why is the BJP criticizing?
Don't dodge it.
I'm not dodging. My point is,
dodging it.
This government mismanages the economy, and then Mohandas says, I credit them for raising the prices.
What is your position on inheritance tax?
If this government mismanages, they have no right to tax the people with higher prices.
There you are.
One second, I'm not dodging, I'll answer you.
There you are. You don't want
the government. I want Mohandas to come on the same page as me.
You don't want the rich taxed.
No, we of course wanted. Let me first.
You don't want the super rich tax.
The problem, Arnav, is you don't allow us to complete rebutting what has been said about us.
I am on a different point.
The right-wing parties, particularly the BJP, always take up such positions when the rich are taxed. They will not actually tax the rich. They will actually support the taxation on the poor people and support the rich and always claim to be saying in the name of Aam
Admi. That's very nice of you to say.
Lord Desai.
Let's look at what the story is.
In fact,
on inheritance tax.
The right-wing politics has always meant that in the name of generating capital, in the name of generating investment, don't tax the rich and particularly don't tax the land-rich community in the rural areas.
I disagree completely.
Can I just... I'll come back. I want to go before
Even in Congress, there is a right wing. I am not saying Congress is not a left-wing party.
We are not right-wing.
Can I...
My question to taxes on the rich,
Piyush Goyal, 1 minute. My question to Lord Meghnad Desai is this. Dr. Meghnad Desai, you see, at the end of the day, it is not about... You want more water? I'll just get it. It's not about, why the middle class is not prepared to pay. Not decide the total worth of the SOPs that are targeted at the middle class is some 40,000. And India Inc. gets some 550,000. The food subsidy increase alone is 75,000. So, does this add up? How is that good economics?
No, it does not. No, it's not good economics. I mean, you will not find me a friend of food subsidies. I believe in direct cash transfer without any food subsidy. I believe all subsidies should be eliminated. If you want to help the poor, give them cash and do not give them food subsidies.
Don't give them cash.
I believe in a balanced budget. I believe in a balanced budget. I believe in a balanced budget in UK as much as in India. I think budget should be balanced. Unbalanced budgets are a burden on the poor. We have to get that straight.
But the BJP is opposing cash subsidies.
In India.
We are not opposing cash subsidies. We are saying
Let him-
give
let-
people
We don't have
work.
progressive taxation in India.
How fair is it going to be to Lord Desai, 1 year from now, how fair is it going to be if diesel prices are up by 6 rupees, which will have an impact on inflation under the argument that this is the only way to rescue the economy? Do you, as one of the world's foremost economists on India, agree with this argument, Meghnad Desai, that the country is sinking and the only way to save the situation is to increase the prices of diesel by 6 rupees?
Or 10 maybe.
And that there is no other argument, there is no other way, this is the only way.
Raising diesel prices is correct. There are many more other ways of reducing deficit, and the government should pursue them as well. But they should not leave the diesel prices regulated.
So why not target that?
I think
why not
the
first-
bigger issue
why
is
not
spur
first look at
investment,
targeting?
spur
But tax
growth,
requires
bring
legislation.
more jobs in the
Tax
system,
requires
let
legislation.
people's
They
incomes
should
go up.
increase taxes.
I think fiscal management is more about reform in power sector, in mining sector, in auction of resources. There are so many better ways to raise resources. This government is not focusing on the real issues. All that they can think of is burdening the common man.
Well, I still haven't understood which side you're on, on
very clear.
LPG prices, on diesel, on subsidies.
I'm very clear. Why did the rupee have to depreciate 25% in this environment?
My
We could have saved the country from all its deficit.
When a populist budget is presented, you say
Rupee
populist.
depreciate
When
because of
LPG prices, when LPG subsidies increased, cap is increased from 6 to 9, then Rajnath Singh says make it infinite. You take the Mamata Banerjee line at that point of time. I mean, there has to be some consistency of your argument as well.
Our stand is that why don't you give pipe gas? My government in Gujarat has invested 10,000 crores on piping, creating a pipeline network.
That's a little.
They don't give us gas to provide the consumer.
My question to Naresh Gujral is this. Naresh Gujral, do you get a sense that, at the end of the day, we are only responding to rating agencies? Because I heard that Fitch 2 weeks back threatened that we will, downgrade India. That 2 weeks back. So suddenly we decide we prune our fiscal deficit, we look good. Are we window dressing too much when it comes to the economy?
Look, I am not for fiscal deficit. So if you want to increase the price of diesel or if you want to increase the price of fertilizer, I have no problem. Provided you also take care of the farm sector. 2/3 of India is dependent on the farm. Then in that case, you must follow the Swaminathan formula.
It is not.
And then say that, okay, if this is the input cost, the farmer will get 50% over that and that will be the MSP.
Yeah, but sir, can I make a point?
Because you can't ignore 2/3 of India.
No, can I make a small point? Vijay Mallya gets
Because every time they talk of reform, they forget the farm sector.
No, Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya gets a large and unrequited amount of money from a consortium of public sector banks. The same banks, you can go and check it out. So I don't know whether they'll get their money back. What happens to Kingfisher? God help Vijay Mallya. But the question is this, the same banks will charge 4% more for tractor loans than they will charge for the same SUV cars which was being criticized about earlier. So you buy a tractor at about 14-15%. You can buy a passenger car at 10%. I don't know how this balances out in a country where Vijay Mallya gets these sort of large loans. So my point is, correct the system. Don't just think that the middle class is the only people to squeeze.
No, but that's what our stand is, and you're saying you can't understand our stand.
My only problem.
I'm repeatedly saying set the thing right at the base. Give jobs to people, teach them to fish rather than provide goals.
Okay.
You're not accepting that.
Gentlemen, I'm taking the discussion forward. When I come on the other side, I want to thank my guests. When I come on the other side, I have 8 questions for the oil minister, who on the government's behalf is taking some straight questions. A big debate. The minister is taking guard on the diesel shock. Veerappa Moily on the other side. Please come back on the Newshour.